Welcome back to Full Circle, Florida. Once upon a time in the Sunshine State, hurricane season was a less threatening, almost a more casual time of year. Like, wait, what? There's a hurricane out there? I know that because I grew up here. There were years where nothing happened. Well, now hurricane season may as well be year-round after expensive, deadly, and damaging storms have punched this state year after year. We're all paying the price with rising home insurance. But this week, we did get some better news. For the first time in years, insurance companies are dropping rates and new companies are finally setting up shop. But will it stick? And are these companies legitimate? Nadeen Yanes has been exposing the fault lines in the insurance industry for months and joins us now with new reporting and the possible turning point.
CFO Jimmy Petronis sat and listened to frustrations.
My question would be why? Why are they raising the rates as high as 54%? I am not happy with that.
And fears.
It's just scary. It's scary to think that you're one storm away from homeless.
And answered questions sent in directly by you.
Why did you reach out to us?
Well, because it's frustrating. I keep hearing the state is doing things to help homeowners, and they have gotten some new carriers in the state. But again, they're no-name carriers, companies that you've never heard of. They seem to be offshoots of bankrupt carriers or carriers who've left the state.
So his fears are how legitimate are these new companies, and
State
will
of
they?
Florida wouldn't allow a bankrupt carrier. He's gotten some bad information, okay? And look, it's easy to be sitting at the coffee shop and getting some bad information. But the state of Florida right now, the way the laws are written, if you have bankrupted a carrier, you cannot be a part of a carrier. That's the law, okay? If you're an exec from a bad carrier, you can't be a part of a new carrier.
He is wondering how legitimate are these new companies, or can any of these companies pay out an actual claim if a storm hits?
They're not allowed to do business in the state of Florida unless they're capable to do the job. So they've got to be funded. Every year we have raised their fiscal amount of holdback they've got to have as cash on hand. Because again, inflation's going up, everything costs more. Guys, you're going to have more money in the bank.
I just don't feel like there's an end in sight. I look at all the legislature stuff going through, and I feel like it's just all talk at this point. Because some of those carriers, I watched your segment on the carriers, and I went up and looked and researched some of them, and there's maybe out of all those carriers, there's one carrier that's actually writing policies in Florida. And I don't even think they're writing condo policies. I'm not positive.
So this is talking about the new companies that have come in. She looked into it. We've been touting these 8 new companies. She's saying none of them are even writing policies at this point.
So they're brand new companies that are taking liability off the shelf from Citizens, okay? So they're bringing down Citizens' liability. That's the insurance company we all own as a state together.
Right now they're only taking Citizens policies though, these new
so
companies.
they're going to Citizens policies, and they're also writing, but now those carriers are brand new, okay? So now they've got to go get relationships with agents around the state. So again, not every agent can sell every particular carrier's product. So I tell people all the time, your agent is your best hunting guide to getting solutions.
And Nadeen is joining us right now in the studio. All right, so are we finally at the point where the home insurance market in Florida is turning around? I mean, this sounds like good news, and I'm just curious what that is actually practically going to look like. Does that mean necessarily lower prices and more options for homeowners, or is this still going to take some time to work out?
It depends on who you ask, Paul, right? Homeowners are still telling us they're seeing their rates rise 10, 20, 30%. The state said, 18 to 24 months, and we're right around the time where we're seeing the tide turn, according to state leaders. I've spoken to not only state leaders, but insurance agents and insurance company presidents, and they have all said that the tide is turning. We just had Security First this week say that they're reducing rates for the first time in 9 years, 5.9%. So it's not a huge drop, but we haven't seen any rate decreases, right? So
it's certainly better than the news we were hearing, which was they were filing for rate increases, and that was just a few months ago.
Right.
That was still happening.
Exactly. And some are still increasing rates. Citizens will continue to increase rates. Their rates are lower than the competition in the state. So if you have Citizens, your rates will continue to rise. So
you have spoken and listened to a lot of homeowners throughout the state in your reporting. Is there a common theme that echoes among them, or is each situation different?
It's mostly common. I mean, everyone is still seeing their rates rise, at least at this point. And it really is the same for seniors on fixed incomes, people who are in mobile homes or condos. They are seeing the absolute worst of it right now. And there's a statistic that November of last year, they did a poll, 91% of Florida voters, their biggest concern is property insurance.
Wow, 91%.
91%. And that was
That's
November,
huge.
so maybe we can pull it again now. But if that is an indication, everyone is seeing their rates rise. So I would say, I mean, just yeah.
Well, and 91% of those people are probably going to vote. So, I mean, you know, the leaders have to listen to what they're saying.
Absolutely.
I'm just curious because you not only interviewed Jimmy Petronas, the CFO, who's in charge of insurance regulation, but you showed him the questions that our viewers asked directly, and you showed him what they were saying. And some of them were pretty emotional. What was his response to that, even off camera, if you can share?
I wanted it to be a different approach to a typical interview. We wanted to hold him accountable, but the way that we hold state leaders accountable was really just being the voice for the people. So when he saw, for example, Jane, she is a woman in a mobile home in Largo, literally in tears. She has to forego having any wind insurance next year because she's required to get flood because of citizens. It's literally doubled her rate. She can't afford it. So she's in a mobile home with no wind insurance and no coverage for wind. Could you imagine that? And there's a stress for that, especially we're a week from hurricane season. And you saw, though he said he's not really surprised in hearing these stories, you saw a genuine reaction to that. And I felt like that really kind of set the tone for him to open up because he's talking directly. I said, I'm so proud of our viewers for submitting this. He said, my viewers, your viewers, my constituents, you know? So
yeah, these aren't just numbers. These are people in their lives.
exactly, absolutely.
All right, so not to be negative, but what if another hurricane hits? Obviously, we know hurricane season is right at our doorstep here. Are all bets off? And even if it strikes in another part of the state where you don't live, are we all going to pay the piper when it comes to that?
The answer is yes. I mean, insurance companies base their rates on reinsurance, right? They have their own insurance for insurance companies. And those rates are set based on the previous year. So last year we had Idalia, so the rates are stabilizing. They're a little bit lower. That's why we're starting to see a little bit of these rate decreases or no increases at all from companies, according to the state. Now, if we get a storm this year, that could slam us again next year. And all of this progress that we have seen can just go backwards.
This is the new reality in a state that hurricanes
Absolutely.
happen.
And we were talking, it's not just here. You know, when other states, California, Texas, Hawaii, after the wildfires, I mean, they're seeing insurance companies pull out and their rates are rising too.
Nadeen Yanes, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Paul.
Next on Full Circle Florida, hurricane season starts next week. How the state is getting ready. Next.